I welcome all of you to Home Affairs here on Joy 99.7 FM. How was your Easter? I hope that last week you enjoyed our Calvary tunes with Sammy Forson. Sam B. It was an amazing moment. Welcome back from the holidays. Back to helping make homes out of houses. That's our mandate right here on Joy 99.7 FM, specifically on Home Affairs. My name is Edem Knight-Tay, ably produced by Daniela Eduasari. Oliver is right there handling social media. Afoset Akbanosi, I saw you. And this morning we are back to doing what we promised we were going to do. Lawyer Paintsil is right here with us. Lawyer, good morning and welcome.
More studio.
So this morning, I just want to remind you and for you to know that God is the one who has the details. And those details are neither distorted nor doctored. His perspectives can neither be manipulated or skewed whatsoever. Knowing this, what do you have to do? You have to set your heart on his side of your story, because that's all that matters. Let people doubt you all you want. Let people say just anything they wish to say. But what's God's side of your story? That's what you should be concerned about. Simply means that live your truth and make sure that you're pleasing your Maker. That's all. Leave people to think and do whatever it is they want to do or say whatever it is that they want to say. For as long as you're living your truth and ensuring that your life pleases God, cruise. Home Affairs is brought to us by Amasha Partners Limited and iCare. Yum Vita, a delicious way to grow, and Dano Milk. Choose tasty milk, choose nourishment, choose Dano Milk. Dano Milk, go for it. And Sankofa Natural Spices. Didi. We say a big welcome to the team at Sankofa Natural Spices. So good to have you on board. Thank you so much for banking on us right here on Home Affairs. And I will tell you a bit more about Sankofa Natural Spices. Also about Dano Milk, Yum Vita and Amasha Partners Limited as we progress. Now remember 2 weeks ago before the Easter break, we had a conversation with Lawyer Paintsil. We were basically trying to look at your marriage, your relationship with your partner and all that, and how the law comes in. Very interesting questions. We weren't able to answer all the questions, so we promised that after Easter we'll ask Lawyer Paintsil to come back so that we continue with the session. And he is right here. Lawyer Paintsil, good morning. You're welcome.
Good morning.
Great. Like I said, whenever we want to have these sort of perspectives, he's always our go-to person because he wears many hats. Yeah. He is a lawyer, he is a pastor, he is a family life counselor, he is a parent. And so you have a holistic view of whatever your questions may be. So, Paintsil, are you ready? Shall we go into it?
Let's fire.
Let's fire. Okay, question number 1 that's been waiting. But let me remind you, you can also send your questions through. We have a number of them, but send yours through 055 1111997 055 I won't make a promise, but we just may be able to activate our phone line on 0302216541. You can also interact with us on Facebook, on Instagram, and everywhere else at Joy997. You can also go to my page, Edem Knight-Tay, and then we get interactive. So everywhere we are also live on Facebook at Joy997 and also on YouTube. You can catch us there as well. Now, what do you do when your ex-husband refuse to pay the alimony and all that the court has asked him to do? For instance, payments of childcare and school fees and even your rent. What do you do?
When a court has made an order for the payment of money other than a judgment debt, and these we call them ancillary reliefs. I'm talking about orders that a court will make after the dissolution of a marriage. Sometimes, even in the course of the divorce proceedings, the court will make what we call alimony pendent lite. In other words, alimony pending litigation. If whoever the order is directed against refuses to comply with the order, you can enforce it first and foremost by contempt proceedings. Contempt is essentially disobedience to an order of court, and it acts in personam. In other words, it's directed to the body of the person against whom the order was made, and the consequence of the proceedings may end up in him being put in prison. So that's, in fact, the most effective way of enforcing such orders are to attach the person for contempt. And if doesn't have a satisfactory answer to the court, then the court will send him to prison.
Which answer could be satisfactory? What answers could this person give that could be satisfactory?
Well,
that maybe they are not working?
Well, I'll put it this way. Before these orders are made, sometimes, I'm sorry, but let me put it very bluntly. As part of proceedings, the court will order the parties to file what we call affidavit of means. An affidavit of means essentially is to demonstrate to the court your sources of income, your expenditure, and stuff like that. And these orders are made on the basis of a finding of fact by the court that from these sources of income that a person earns, these are the possible ways that the person ought to discharge responsibilities towards the respondent. It's almost always the woman who is asking for alimony. I don't know why, but women must know there is not only women who pay alimony. In appropriate cases, men can also demand alimony. But the answer to the question is very simple, which is that once the court has made the order based on objective sources, then the order must be complied with. But without prejudice, if a respondent has any reason to believe that you are unable or for any reason incapable of complying with the court order, then the wisest thing to do is to go back to the court, make an application to the court for an order to vary the terms or suspend as appropriate. But if you constitute yourself into a court and you refuse to comply, sometimes it may be too late when you are brought back to the court and you even can explain yourself, because the failure to come back to the court itself is part of the reason why the court will not find your answers very satisfactory. So that's the way to do it.
I see. So after filing all of these and the court verifies these are your sources of making money and all that, and then along the line maybe you're not making that much anymore,
Yes.
or you lose your job or something like that, those means are no longer there. What do you do?
That's what I'm saying. You better make an application to the
Back to
court.
the court.
You go back to the court and with information that you have, and of course seek an order to vary the previous orders that the court made. But the difficulty we have in Ghana, based on my own experience, is that 90% of the time you're unable really to determine objective sources of income. You see people floating, living a lavish lifestyle, but there's no resource of income. And therefore, I think, it was Chinua Achebe who said that if the hunters learn to shoot without aiming, the birds also learn to fly without perching.
True.
So most of our judges have also developed an attitude towards some of these things because they know that, some of these are not verifiable. A man is living right, meanwhile he says it's not working. So to some extent, some of these orders are made. And if you come back and say you don't have the money, the judge doesn't know how to do. Somehow, when they are locked up, they find the money. That's the way it goes.
Also, there are decided cases of
Oh,
instances
they
where
do it
people
all
have
the
been
time.
locked
We
up,
cite people for contempt all the time.
where people have actually been locked up.
Oh, they do.
I see.
Interestingly,
So
I'm
when
sorry.
you lock the person up, how do you get the money?
I said they will find the money. The relatives will find the money. People find the money. So a lot of times when you're talking to male clients in this market, they say, I say, okay, when they lock you up, the money will come. So don't worry.
Oh, we don't like peace, oh.
Yes, nobody likes peace.
We
Yes.
don't like peace.
You lock the person, the money will come. So I love it when they get locked up and somehow, magical as we all are,
Yeah.
the money pops up from somewhere.
Somewhere.
That is so.
So I guess you have an answer to your question now. You may have to go back to the court and let them know this is what is happening, and then the necessary things will be done. So there is definitely something that can be done, other than, just complaining. And sometimes we take the law into our own hands. You start sending messages, go and threaten the person, fight, insult.
That's not the way to do it.
No, it's not the way to go. Especially so if you have gone to court.
Sure.
And the person has been ordered to do something. If they're not doing it, you just go back to the same place,
right.
and then the right thing is
Because
done.
the act of sending insulting text message is self-contempt. Because then you are taking the law into your own hands and seeking to enforce a court order,
You see?
which you've got no right to do.
Yeah, great.
Yes.
So this one says that we had our marriage at home, but we publicized it at the assembly and for a pastor to come and bless it. But we realized that the assembly representative came with when he came with the certificate, it was a customary certificate. We explained a lot of this last
We
2
did.
weeks.
I don't know what they did. But you see, we have customary marriage. And customary marriage, as we know, is essentially between two families. And there are no requirements about meeting places and so forth. In fact, these days, even customary marriages can be contracted even without the presence of the parties themselves and so forth and so on. But it is when you have a customary marriage that the law requires that you must also register, and a customary marriage certificate would then be issued to you. Typically, it is at the district assembly or the various metropolitan assemblies and so forth and so on. That's where the marriage certificates, of customary marriage, are issued after going through filling some forms and presenting the evidence of the marriage and so forth and so on. Nobody needs to be there. It is essentially, a self-sworn affidavit verifying the facts contained in it as to the parties and as to where it took place and witnesses. And that will be it. And once you present it, they will issue the certificate to you. But when you're talking about ordinance marriage, there are procedural requirements as to registration of the venue, the registration even of the officiating minister, and so forth and so on. You have to obtain either a registry certificate or a marriage officer certificate or a special license. These things must exist prior. In the case of going, they say they did it at home and then they went to the assembly.
Yeah.
Going to assembly would normally come under the marriage officer certificate, and that certificate must be issued, and then you must have 3 months notice before They will give 3 months notice before you can contract the marriage. And if you are unable for any reason to contract the marriage within the 3 months, then you must go for another certificate. So if you don't follow those formalities, what you go through, please, you may please yourself with your wife that you have gone through a marriage, but it's not one that the law will recognize. I mean, sometimes even certificates.
So the customary marriage certificate is not recognizable by law?
It is.
But it is not an ordinance marriage?
It is not.
So what is the essence of that certificate?
To validate the marriage, to show, it's proof, it's the evidence that these people have contracted a marriage under customary law.
Okay,
And it is.
But with that certificate, the man can still go and marry another.
Naturally.
And probably have an ordinance marriage with
No,
another person.
no, you can't do that one.
You can't do that
No,
one.
no. When there's a subsisting customary marriage, you can only transform the subsisting customary marriage into an ordinance marriage. It's a requirement of law that if you want to, we call it conversion. That's you are converting a customary marriage into an ordinance marriage. And that can be contracted with the person with whom you have the customary marriage.
Okay.
You can't leave your customary marriage behind and go and contract ordinance marriage with another person.
Okay, but Lawyer Paintsil, you can go and contract another customary marriage with another person.
Naturally.
Now, if you contract that customary marriage with person B,
Yes.
can you not go on to have an ordinance marriage with this person B?
You can't.
Aha!
You can't.
Okay.
Because there's a validly subsisting customary marriage on the side.
Okay.
Unless possibly you go through a divorce with wife A. But if you don't, you can't leave wife A behind and go and contract an ordinary marriage with wife B. It's illegal.
It is illegal, I agree, but you can go and contract a
Another
customary
customary
marriage
marriage.
and later on convert that second customary marriage into ordinance.
No.
You can't.
No.
Oh.
No.
So once you have a customary marriage, you can have other customary marriages.
That is so.
But you cannot convert any of them
No.
to ordinance
No,
except
no.
for the very first one.
No.
No, I mean except for the very, very first marriage.
No. Don't put it that way. If you have a customary marriage with wife A and you want to have an ordinance marriage, we say you are converting
Okay.
the customary marriage with wife A into an ordinance marriage.
Yes.
Once you begin to add, then the only condition for contracting an ordinance marriage with any of them is to ensure that all of them, the marriages have been validly divorced.
I see.
That is so. But you can't pick and choose. No. No, you can't do that.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
This is interesting.
Yes.
Okay, I get it now. This is very interesting. So the moment you have one customary marriage and you register that one, you're fine. You can go on to have others.
And register that one also.
Also, okay.
Yes.
But then if for any reason you will have to convert any of them to an ordinance marriage, you will have to divorce some of them or all the others.
All of them except one.
The one you want.
Except one. So it's always an issue, and that is part of obtaining the certificate either of the registrar or the marriage officer. You must swear on oath that there's no subsisting marriage except to the person that you want to contract the ordinance marriage with.
That's true.
You're very right.
That's true.
So
Interesting. So please, yes, you have a customary marriage certificate. It's not ordinance, so you will have to take steps to convert it. That is, if you and your husband are on the same page, you know. Good morning, Edem. Please ask your lawyer and pastor to educate me why some women continue to put on both customary and ordinance bands. That's the ring. Polygamous and monogamous marriages are different marriages. So why put them together on you, the woman? This is Bright Kofi. Now you confuse me with the other part. But I mean, essentially, you have a customary marriage and then you have the ordinance marriage. And you know, in our settings, both of them come with a band.
You're right.
And then the woman will wear both bands. That's his concern. Why don't you throw the customary one away and then just keep the one for the ordinance, because now you've graduated or you've converted? Why are you wearing the two?
You know, I think what people
Some of us are wearing three.
Oh, it could be four. You know, what happens is that these are trappings. In other words, they are not of the essence of the marriage.
They are what? Trappings?
They are trappings of the marriage. They are things that we like to do for people to know. But it's not of the essence of the marriage. That you must wear a ring, you must give the woman a Bible, and so forth. Recently, I attended one wedding, and the religious faith of the people says that it's not only women that must be advised. So you give the man a Bible, give the woman a Bible.
Of
you know,
course.
people are doing all manner of things,
Yeah.
and these are not of the essence of the marriage. So I'll put it that these things are a lifestyle, just a lifestyle. And even if you decide that you're not going to wear any ring at all, it will not invalidate your marriage. So people ought to know these things are not things that really of the essence of any of the marriages at all. So that's the way I'll put it. It says lifestyle.
Somebody will say that we are
That is so. You can choose to wear and even use an earring to symbolize the fact that you are married, or a chain, or call it. People do all manner of things. To symbolize.
And the courts accept it.
No, this got nothing to do with the court. Like I said, it's of no of the essence.
Because I know that. I've attended a few of these ordinance marriage in courts, right?
Yes.
And then they will ask you if you have anything.
That is so.
So if you have,
I say it's top up. When you buy units, you buy this thing, you do a top up.
So what, lawyer, I'm asking, if they ask you if you have anything, you can choose to say that you do, but what you have is a necklace.
It could be anything.
Oh, I see. So it's
it could
not
be
like
eyeglasses. But like it's custom. Things are customary. We do them, but there's nothing in the law
that says
that
you must bring your ring.
You're right. That you must symbolize it by a particular thing. No.
Because sometimes those rings also become points of contention when the marriage is no longer there. I want my ring back because it probably was very expensive.
Well. Some people really invest in these things, and it's an issue whether when the marriages have collapsed, those things have to be returned. But there are difficulties with trying to get those things back.
Yeah,
there are difficulties because I've told you that one of the, presumptions of law is that when a man buys a gift, he gives a gift to a woman, or he buys something in the name of a woman, the presumption is that you intend it as a gift to her. So if as part of a marriage ceremony you give all kind of things, they are intended to be gifts, and gifts are not returnable. It's as simple as that. Gifts are not returnable.
I see.
Yes, gifts are not returnable.
So there's a very interesting one here. I think last week we talked about it, but I again want to find out how this is situated in the law. I have been married. I have been divorced for 5 years now.
Yeah.
My issue is that my ex-wife is still using my last name. We didn't even have any children. I have gone on to remarry and have kids now. It has even affected my visa application some time ago. What do I do?
You see, there's a common law remedy. Whenever we talk of common law, we are talking about unwritten law. In other words, how we find law in statute books and stuff. Common law derives more like tradition, the way things are done and stuff, and it's recognized, and the judges give effect to it. That common law remedy is called ejectation. Ejectation essentially is an allegation that by use of somebody's name, not some impersonation, like you are bringing embarrassment to the person. In other words, somebody's boasting with your name. Somebody is making the kind of show out of your name that brings embarrassment to you. For instance, he says he's going on to marry another woman who obviously is bearing the same surname. So an issue always arises as to whether the wife that she has now is a second wife, and so forth and so on. And for the kind of
But you are not the only person who uses that name, so what is your problem?
No. The relationship. Everybody knew that this man was married to this woman, and the woman is still carrying the name after I divorced the person. And you can go to court and seek an order to take your name off her.
That's right.
It's not common in Ghana. I don't know if I reported a case in Ghana. But the last time that I checked online, in India, as you know, India practice common law the same as we do in England. In fact, in England, that's where the practice always was. But these days, you don't find the reported cases. But the last time that I checked online, I realized that in India, as recent as last year, somebody got a remedy. The judge gave him the distance, ordered the woman to take off the name. That is so. So if you can make a good case, the judge should be able to grant the order.
I can imagine how complicated these things may be. Maybe you have gone on to use the name to build a brand,
Who cares?
do a lot of things.
No, then you have to buy it. You know, the famous case was that of Tina Turner. You know, Tina Turner started life as something. Not the husband name was Ike Turner. Okay, and you were right. And then when they divorced, the husband wanted his name back, and she had to buy because she had become a brand name. I mean, Tina Turner had become a brand name, but she had to buy it. In other words, there had to be an agreement for her to be, because if you're making money out of the name, I don't see why you should keep it to yourself.
You must be wrong.
You're very right. Well, love goes, a lot of things happen. What's it? What's what do to another?
I tell you.
So that's the way it is.
Abba.
So I mean, if you have my name, you divorce me, you give me back my name. It's very simple as that. I believe very fair. I'm not that generous, you know. I mean, it's as simple as that. I mean, why? I mean, love me, love my dog. Love me, love my name. What do you mean keeping my name when you have divorced me? Don't pretend to anybody you love me after you've divorced me. Don't.
It's not like I love you, but yeah, I mean, what's the point in going back and forth? One human being?
You go back. Let people know that you have moved on. And moving on means leaving all things behind. You remember the wife of, was it Jacob's wife? Mm-hmm. You know, she left her father's home, wanted to go with her husband to the husband's family home. But she stole her father's gods. If you don't love to stay with your father, why steal his gods? So that's the word to the women out there. That when they are preparing to, well, of course, some of them, they don't wait. As soon as the divorce is, they go back to their maiden name.
That is when, usually when, you know, the whole thing became a very bitter one. I don't want to have it's the woman who doesn't want to have anything to do with you. They don't even want to smell you around, you know.
Yeah, but when they say divorce, that's the essential, that's the meaning. Because see,
but when I mean, when a woman loves a man, and it is not
and you divorce him.
No, it is not the woman's intention to be divorced.
Nobody's intention. But the road to hell is paved with good intentions. You know what I'm saying? I mean, so please, nobody really started any day, looked out the window and said, I'm going to have a divorce.
If it is the man who divorced you, the man said, I didn't want you. Maybe you're begging, asking, you know, for things to be done right, and he says no, and then you go on to know,
you see, let me clarify
this woman still loves this man. This woman still loves this man, and the man is just the one doing gaga. I mean, the least you can do is just allow her to keep the name so that she can.
No, you see, it's not. It's marriages. Divorces even don't come that simply. The truth of the matter is that a divorce will only be given or granted by a court only after clear evidence that the marriage has broken down beyond reconciliation, and that efforts at reconciliation have failed. I mean, apart from the grounds upon which you can let, there are two main factors. The first factor is that the marriage has broken down beyond reconciliation, and it is for purpose of proving that it's broken down beyond reconciliation that the law has granted those 5 grounds upon which you can seek a divorce. But even then, before the court grants the divorce, the court must show that there have been efforts that have failed. So it's a two-way street. It's not like one person goes and says, I want a divorce, and the court grants it. Anyway, we will leave it for those who are living in those relationships and hope that some men will be generous.
So please, if you want your name back, you can actually go and get a remedy, you know.
Is that right? You go to court.
Go to court and then go and collect your name. Especially so if you're because I mean, if you're merely telling the person that don't use my name again, and they revert to using their maiden name.
Yes.
But, I mean, how do you call it? You probably saw an affidavit, it was published and everything, and then the name is, you know, in your books, like on your documents and everything, and you're barely just not responding to it. It means that you still have to go through all that process to take the name off, right?
You're very right. First and foremost, you see, any change of name, it doesn't come about because you have married. Because you can marry and still decide to keep your old name. But a change of name comes about as a result of swearing to an affidavit indicating the change of name. In fact, even in law, you don't even have to have a special reason. If tomorrow you get up, you want to be called Bill Clinton, you be called Bill Clinton after swearing the necessary things, and it's published in the Gazette. So a lot of times when women have gone through this marriage, and like I said, these are traditions of men. It's not imposed by law. No. There's no law that says that once you marry, you must go through this thing. But society wants to recognize the mistresses of the world. And the mistresses of this world, they want to distinguish themselves from those people who are married. You know what I'm saying? That's the way it's a societal thing. But when you've gone through, sworn to the affidavit and all of those things, and the publication has been made in the Gazette, then from that time, but we say that all former names are still valid. Meaning that you want to secondary school, you want to wherever, the certificates that you obtain, all of them are in your maiden name. And now that you get married, you now have acquired other brands, like you said, and it's there. If you get a man like me who says that you're no longer going to use my name, you go back and swear. And therefore, in the records, you have your maiden name, as you call it. Then you now have your other name that you have dropped. And then, well, if you want to go back to your maiden name, fair enough. If you want to move on, then we do not know whether from Mr. Paintsil you go to Mr. Krenzer, and whether you want to, I mean, that's the way it goes. So that's a choice.
Oh, dear.
But these are all traditions of men.
Yeah.
Yes, these are all traditions.
Of course, once it makes you uncomfortable and you want your name back, you go and collect your name back.
Yeah.
In court. Okay, there's an interesting one here. It says, Edem, I have a friend who was married for 20 years with 3 children. And due to economic reasons, they relocated to different countries. So husband went somewhere else, wife went somewhere else. The two decided to revoke their marriage in court so they could acquire documentations. In the process, my friend, who is the guy, has given birth with another woman, and they're cohabiting now. Now, my friend is trying to say that their marriage ended immediately they revoked the marriage in court. The evil that they both sought to do.
The conspiracy.
What are remedies for my friend's wife? And this is from Dada K in DC.
You know, the real problem with these convenient things that we do is that all of them have got legal implications.
Okay.
The husband is not trying to say, he's saying what they have done, which is that the marriage was dissolved by a court of law. Anything contrary to that, or a contention contrary to that, a contention that we colluded to do that, itself has got legal implications, which means that you lied on oath, lie through the teeth of yours, wherever, in order to get it. That itself is perjury. And then you have to decide the lesser of the evils. But I cannot see a judge who's going to set aside a valid order he has made based on the sworn statements and affidavits and so forth. On
now
the basis,
your emotions have come in.
You're very right. So they actually had a divorce. Whatever the intentions were, too bad for them. It is something between the two of them. But that's the evil that men do, and the consequences should always follow. But if they really want to remarry, they have to go back. If they don't want to marry, the husband's, what he said is true. What it means is that he deceived you, or rather he betrayed your trust. Unfortunately, these are not the matters that are justiciable. In other words, you can't go to court to say that the man has betrayed my trust, my confidence, our collusion. You know, that's why I keep making this point that if you study fraudsters, this business we call 419, which has been upgraded by Ghanaians to 519 all aspects of our lives. The person who initiates the fraud essentially wins your trust or confidence for you to agree that the two of you are going to commit a bigger crime. In other words, the two of you consent to commit an offense by, in some of the money cases, going to defraud a third person or going to make. Then once your consent has been extracted in those circumstances, then he defrauds you yourself. That becomes the moral thing for you, not even to be able to talk about it. So unfortunately, people have to make decisions in this life. And the decisions that, as we say, as you make your bed, so shall you lie in it.
So is there any remedy at law for her?
I doubt it. The remedy, like I'm saying, when you go, the idea, you can't even go to the court because see, you can't go back to the court. Maybe you should consult this sort of Rollins to show him those fetishes that he was talking about. But in a court of law, I cannot see it. Because you can't go back to the court with a request that they must set aside the divorce on the basis that the two of you colluded to do what you did. So I cannot see a remedy. If there's a remedy, I do not know. But I do not see it. You can't get a judge to set aside an earlier order dissolving the marriage on the basis that it was, what do you call it, received or taken from the court by fraud. No, you can't do that. No, that's it. The scores have been settled. 1-0, the man has a chance, so that's 1-0. The match has ended. It's too late. It's too late. It's too late. The referee has waited for the end of the match.
And that's
Even
it.
if the goal was fumbled with the hands, the match has ended.
And that's
The
it.
complaint will be dealt with by
You
some
can
whatever.
protest all you want.
It's not going to work.
Wow.
But the men do it all the time. So by the time that the women started getting a little wiser, because I've made this point over and over and over again, that it's a very common thing that with respectable women sit in Ghana and tell us that they've agreed with their husbands to marry. It is, I'm sorry, I wouldn't know how to put it. It is immoral that you sit in Ghana here and say you have consented with your husband to deceive somebody's daughter. Oh man, I don't know how the world has gone.
And when it turns against you,
It does all the time. It does all the time. 9 out of 10. It does all the time. So it's about time that people learn some useful lesson from these so-called or the papers.
The next question, right? I realized that marriage can be very complicated. It says, how can two Ghanaian couples register their marriage when they are in Saudi Arabia and want to be married?
They can go to the Ghana mission in Saudi Arabia. An arrangement can be made with a Ghana office here for, what do you call it, registered certificate to be issued, and the Ghana embassy could constitute a place for the registration. I mean, they can get what we call a special license. A special license is obtained from the Registrar of Marriages. And don't forget that the Ghana embassy in Saudi Arabia is part of Ghana soil by definition. So it's part of Ghana land. And therefore, upon application to the Registrar of Marriages in Ghana here, a special license can be issued. A special license is one that is issued with information that all the requirements have been met with regard to the parties, and then a special place would then be named in the certificate for, and possibly the Ghana consul or some officer there will be appointed by the Registrar of Marriages here as the officer to officiate the marriage, and that will be perfectly done.
So how simple or how complicated is this?
I wouldn't know. I mean, you live in foreign land, but like I told you, Ghana mission there is part of Ghana land.
So
and
you
therefore,
have to just begin
in
the
these days
process.
of emails and all of this, I'm not too sure it will be complicated. I mean, possibly, maybe the administrative way of going about things is to have somebody in Ghana here. Even you can do it through the Ghana mission, and that's why they exist. What I'm saying may sound a little distant, but indeed the missions are supposed to be involved in all of these things. So I would advise them to go to the Ghana mission. The person there may not even know the law relating to these things, and therefore, of course, if they want to appoint a lawyer in Ghana to educate them, what I do in almost most of the things that I do, a lot of the institutions, some of them don't even know the applicable laws. So when you write, you state what the law says and educate them and show them how to go about it and so forth and so on. But I'm not assuming that they do not know. They should know, because when you're in Ghana embassy in Saudi Arabia, Ghanaian laws apply to you, and by definition, you must know what our law says. So it shouldn't be difficult at all. But
Yeah.
but one thing I'm certain of, they cannot contract the ordinance marriage without this procedure. But if they are talking about customary marriage. Customary marriage can dispense with the presence of both parties, and it can be contracted in Ghana on their behalf by proxy, and it will still be valid, and they can have their marriage certificate. It's as simple as that.
I see.
Yes.
Otherwise, you come home and come and marry.
That's the short of it. That's the short of it. That is the short of it. Actually, I've answered the question. Yes, you come to Ghana and then you obtain a registered certificate. The time can be shortened for you. You don't need to wait for 3 months and so forth and so on. Within a week, you can have your celebration.
That's all.
Yes.
So, next one. If my wife wants a divorce, can I request the court to divide our properties? If you found out that she's cheating with other married men, can you argue to the court to give the kids to you, the man, since you don't want the kids to feel it's okay to date married people?
Yeah, it's always an issue the court
Same.
has to consider. There are no hard and fast rules, but one of the things that I can say for certain is that in every divorce, issues, what we call ancillary reliefs, consequential orders have to be made, apart from the divorces, one of which, of course, is custody, apart from the alimonies and distribution of properties and so forth and so on. Custody is one of the issue. That is to say, to whom must the, especially if they, of course, there must be children, to whom must the children go? And of course, what are the rights even of the other spouse in relation to any order of custody that the court will make? As an inflexible rule, the court will normally, if the children are very children, in other words, they are very young, the court always feels safe and comfortable giving custody to the woman. But where there are issues about the woman's moral, what do you call, standing, I think the clearest case was the Dr. Beckley. You remember the Dr. Beckley matter?
Yes.
That, yeah, Dr. Beckley. There is a reported case about him and his wife and their children, and the allegation against the wife was that she was, how do you call the woman who stand by the junctions and the whatever? You know what I'm saying? And that was the allegation against the woman. And the court, having made some findings that suggested that she indeed was, the court made order in favor of the man. But it is always a question of fact what the living circumstances of both spouses are. So if a man wants custody, maybe he has to demonstrate that he's got better facilities and so forth and so on. But the allegation that a woman's morality or moral integrity is an issue will be one that will be investigated by the court. And if the court has got any reason to believe that the children will be polluted by living them with a wife, then the court will not hesitate at all. Because the sole question that a court always has to consider whenever these issues comes up is the best interest of the child. That's what the court is looking at. And if the court determines that the best interest of the child can be done by giving it to the husband, it will do it if it has to go to the wife. But I've told you that as a rule, women have been determined by the courts to be the best custodians of children. And if you want to rebut it, then you need very strong evidence. As for properties, property issues will always come up, especially if the property was acquired in the course of the marriage. Then issues arise as to who contributed what proportion to it. Even though there's no mathematical formula for doing these things, the evidence that comes before the court will let the court make a decision. But if the parties can also agree among themselves that, yes, we did it, and we did it in ways that we cannot determine who contributed what, then the line will be drawn. And if the property has to be sold, or if one person wants to leave it for the other, then the person may pay the other party out and so forth and so on. But every time it becomes an issue, the court will take evidence and make a determination as to whether equality is equity, or what is equitable is 60-40 or 30-70. The court will always make that determination, and then it will be carried out in a manner that both parties will be satisfied with.
Great.
Yes.
On the issue of custody,
Yes.
how much consideration is given to the age of the children? In determining who takes custody of the kids.
No, quite naturally, a child by our laws is anybody under 18 years, but except for purpose of marriages, then 21 is taken.
Okay.
But an infant is anybody under 18 years.
Okay.
And then, but when they are very children, like for instance, up to about 9, before, let me put it, before teenage years.
Okay.
Before teenage years. Because see, the truth of the matter is that a lot of time men really, as a matter of fact, do not really have the time. All he wants to do is to take it, possibly go and give to his sister,
Or
or
the
take,
mother.
yes, or go and give to the mother. And the court will never ever think that your mom should be a better person to
Than
look
their
after
mother.
your children other than your wife. And those are some of the complications. But sometimes, depending on these things, so like I said, there are certain things that you can take for granted. Like I'm saying, when they are before teenage years, and unless you can demonstrate that the woman is such of a poor character and so forth, because see, even when you talk about your living circumstance, the court can make an order for you to go and rent an appropriate place for the woman and the children. So the fact that you've moved on, possibly living in an apartment and the woman is living in some shack and whatever, cannot be used against the woman. The court has power to make the order. And unless you can demonstrate that, yes,
She's not fit at all.
that is so. If not, then you have a tough fight on your hand.
I see.
Yes.
Interesting. So I guess that's been answered for you. Now the next question. Good morning, Edem. I want to know if a man who married a woman, they married the man married, they didn't have children, but the man contracts other marriages with other women and had children with these other women. Can this man take the properties of the first wife if she passes on? Hey, Minister.
It's an interesting question.
I tell you.
It says that can this man take the properties of the first wife? Well, let me put it this way. Intestate succession comes in. If the law is that, if in this case, if the woman has died, and at the time that she died, she had properties, the law is that the matrimonial home, or one of the properties, the man had a choice. So on the facts of this case, I'll put it very bluntly as this. The woman did not leave children, but she has a family who have an interest in her properties, who will succeed to her properties subject to the husband's interest. Where the wife has died without children, then the law is that if the person died and had children, then the surviving spouse take 3/16, then the children take 9/16, and then the family, if it has surviving parents, 2/16. It's a very funny formula, but that's what is in the law. Then the other 2/16, the law says that it must be distributed in accordance with custom. But where the woman died without issue, under the law, I think the surviving spouse take 50%, and the rest is distributed in accordance with custom. Now, what will happen is that the part of the property that the woman left, if it is one house, then the man's portion of it, he can decide to give out to whoever. But the other portion does not belong to the man. And then it may be distributed in accordance with the law, and the people who are entitled by law to take it will take it, which is the woman's family. Depending, and please, even that's not as easy as that, depending on whether it is matrilineal or patrilineal, then it will be distributed in accordance with that formula. If you died and you were a gun, then a gun is patrilineal, then it is the father's side who will be entitled. If you died and you are matrilineal, you are an akan, then it's the matrilineal that will take that side. But the law has provision for all of these things. So the short answer to the question is that the man can only take the portion that devolves to him by law. It's as simple as that. Other than that, he cannot touch anything else.
And the fact that he went on to marry other women and had other children doesn't play any role.
That's
right?
his business. They are not the woman. Unless the woman in her lifetime adopted any of those children as her adopted child. If she didn't, it goes as it is. The man can only take the portion that devolves to him in accordance with law.
Wow. Very interesting perspectives. I mean, and it's important that, we have all this knowledge before taking these steps. It's not that easy. And especially so in these days that people go into marriage with all sorts of intentions.
Of course.
Could it be that you're marrying the woman and professing love, and I want to marry you because you think the woman is rich, but deep within your heart, you know that you don't love her, and you probably just can't wait for her to die for you to take her property or whatever.
It's the other way around. It's rather there. It's men who always die earlier than the women. So what you say can only apply to women.
Oh no!
Because no. Look, listen to me.
But we're just reading something that is it's not the same thing.
It is always the men who die and leave the women. Always, 9 out of 10.
Paintsil, are you saying that rich women don't die leaving their properties behind?
The rich woman,
yeah,
she will live. That woman outlived their husband on average by 10 years or more. My grandmother outlived my grandfather by more than 15 years. My mother has outlived my father by more than 20 years. I know my wife will outlive me by more than 15 years. So what are we talking about?
You're not answering my question. You're dodging my question.
So what is your question? I'm saying that the tendency for somebody to go into marriage not even loving the person but hanging on,
it's most of the time
it's more likely to be a woman than a man. That's my point.
That.
Let me defend men at least once in my presentation.
This one we will share it 50-50.
Well, we would. But then your question is?
Oh no! I was just trying to find out. Like I said, in this era, not too many people are marrying with good intentions.
Well, it's true. It's true.
With love. So it's important that we know these things, and if you don't know them, well, we're on some path.
Well. It's good that people must know some of these things, because a lot of times I think there's so much ignorance even in these matters. People are even sitting on their rights. They don't know what rights even they have. Yeah. Because I'm seeing this question, which is...
it's coming to it. Very interesting question, that I got married to my late wife through the traditional way. They had a child who was 6 months and was in the care of his in-law. After the burial, I was told I can't take the child till she's 7 years. It's been 8 years now, and still they don't want to let me have my child. What should I do?
She must go to court. He must go to court. You see, let me put it this way.
But who says that you can only take custody of the child when she's 7?
It's not even the law. It is not the law. Like there are things that, you see, we talk law as if law is everything. There are things that we do more. Obviously, if your wife died, the child was 6 months, it made a lot of sense, even for your own convenience.
That's true.
That your in-laws must
take care of a 6
month
old baby.
It's for your own convenience.
That's true.
But you can damn it and decide to take your child. All you have to do is to demonstrate that you have the means to do it. You can have a nanny, you can have whatever, because your in-laws don't have any better right than you to your own child. Okay. But this is Ghana, okay? You allow these things to go. It makes a lot of sense, and it makes for a lot. But I'm saying that there's no law that says that if your wife dies, your in-laws must have custody of your child. But if you decide that for some reason, you want them to have it, fair enough. But then it appears that the thing has been overstretched, and at any point in time, obviously you cannot resolve it through peaceful means, the way to do is to go to court for an order. And once you can explain, I will say more. You see, sometimes your own conduct could be the reason why a court will not grant you certain reliefs. If it becomes clear, for instance, that you have abandoned your own responsibilities in a manner that shows that you were not that serious, and then at some point in time you kick yourself and then you want to go in, the court is looking at some of like a child gets used to a certain environment, has got playmates, has got a school attending, it's more comfortable, because the interest of the child is very, very paramount. And that's what the court is always looking at. And all you want to do is to spring the child out of a certain environment. Then you must demonstrate to the court that on a balance of probabilities, you have made arrangements to ensure that those things can be balanced in a certain way.
Great.
Possibly you've married, you've got children at home. So when this child comes, it's also going to find it's going to be a readjustment,
Yes.
but it is part of life. So it's about the evidence that you present to the court that the court will use to balance the
And
equation.
not just merely going to
No.
to
Just
make,
don't go and plug the
to make
child because of your
complaints.
right. No.
Okay, great.
No.
I mean, that's very simple.
Yeah.
So if you are just joining us or you joined us somewhere in the middle, still join 99.7 FM. This is Home Affairs, and we're looking at some of the issues that will come up in our marriages, especially so when the law is concerned. And it's very interesting, some of the questions that are coming up. People are really dealing with things. And usually when you are in love and I love you, I want to live the rest of my life with you, these things don't come up. They usually start, coming up and creeping in on you when love begins to go wrong. When you feel like you have been taken for granted. When you feel like I deserve better. You feel like your trust has been betrayed, then you begin to look at, did I do this? Did I not do that? Why didn't I do this? And then you begin to run around and find out. So I'm just trying to say, sometimes we can ask these things, in questions. When you're dating your partner and you go out on your dates before you marry, some of these things, let them be the talking point. So just in case ABCD, let's say that things are becoming very, very, very difficult for us and you will have to relocate. Do you think that you will ask us to be divorced so that you can marry for papers? You should be asking some of all these questions and know, just so you have a little bit of knowledge on how, in certain situations, people will ask. It shouldn't just be pizza dates and fried rice and chicken. We should be talking about the real things, because look, all these people who are having these issues, I'm not sure they thought about these things when they were in relationships and they were, lovishyating, if you like. It is only when, reality sets in. So, let's just be, quite mindful. Love can go south. We don't expect it though. The one I find particularly interesting is the names.
Ejectation, that's what we call it.
Give me back my name.
You know it.
I ain't giving it to you.
You're right.
And enrich your breakfast with the nourishing goodness of Dano Milk Cool Cow Instant Powdered Milk. The rich taste of Dano Milk makes a perfect combination with your tea, oats, cocoa, etc. to give you that great tasting breakfast you've always desired. Dano Milk Cool Cow is fortified with vitamin A and is also a good source of protein and nutrients such as vitamin B and iodine to help keep you nourished and strong always. Dano Milk is affordable and in a shop near you. Choose Dano Milk today for your nourishment and build your strength. Dano Milk, go for it. And this advert is FDA approved. Now, let me tell you about Sankofa Natural Spices. When we talk of spices, then it is Sankofa Natural Spices made in Ghana with no chemicals. If you love your health and want to live well and long, then it's all about Sankofa. Our forefathers lived well and long, and this is because every food they ate was natural with no chemicals. So why would you add chemicals in the name of spices to your natural food? Sankofa Natural Spices is made with our own prekese, esru wisa, efom wisa, and inkitin and many more. Sankofa Natural Spices is 100% natural. No sugar, no salt, no chemicals, and no monosodium. Too much salt, sugar, and chemicals are not good for the body. That's why we recommend Sankofa Natural Spices for you. They come in different variants. Jollof, stew, fish, soup, chicken and beef, curry, ginger and garlic, spaghetti and noodles. The price is also affordable. Don't play with your health and your life. Choose Sankofa Natural Spices for your tasty and healthy meals. Sankofa Natural Spices, DDEA. For bulk purchase, you can call 055 5560 3143. And remember, your health is your wealth. Sanko for natural spices. Didier. And Yum Vita infant cereal with milk is fortified with Nutri-V, which contains 16 essential vitamins and minerals, including zinc, iron, and calcium, to aid in baby's healthy growth. It comes in 3 different flavors, 3 different delicious flavors: the maize and wheat, rice and wheat variants, and they all come in 3 unique pack sizes: the 50 gram, 400 gram, and 350 block bottom pouch. Get the pack size that best suits your family needs. Yum Vita, a delicious way to grow. And for all your eye care challenges, I'm urging you to look no further. Amasha Partners Limited and Eye Care has it all. You deserve the best care for your eyes, and also the best of designer eyeglasses. And that's where Amasha Partners come in. They undertake the following services: supply of designer frames, side testing, supply of lenses, sunglasses, contact lenses, ophthalmologist in attendance, and general treatment. You can locate them at La Opsa Trade Fair, Spinters adjacent ICGC before the Community 18 Junction, McCarthy Hill, they are opposite Benjay Lodge. North Kanishi, you will find them at Swan Lake, opposite Greenhand Junction. At Chimota, you will find them on the 2nd floor, Densua Plaza, Takrade. They are on the Axim Road, opposite CBG Bank. And in Ho, you will find them opposite the Housing Junction. Kumasi Airport roundabouts, Kolebu opposite ECG, and Koforidua on the Central Hospital Road. And when you go to Tema, they are in Community 1 inside the Meridian Plaza. Numbers to call: 0302939850 and 0302778827. You can follow them on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. I'm activating the phone lines for a few minutes. 0302216541. We can take about 2 phone calls. And then Sammy Forson and the Weekend City Show team will be here. After that, we have News File. Sports Link will come up. Showbiz A to Z. Flashback. And then the open house party. Hello, good morning. Okay, while I wait for your phone call, I don't know if this question has been asked already. Which one is that? A case study in Hakimi, the Moroccan footballer, and the divorced wife. Okay, the case is reported that the husband has willed his properties in the mother's name, upon which the wife could not receive her intended portion of Hakimi's properties. Can the divorced wife further sue the husband to compel the husband to unwill the properties to the wife? This is from Kweku. Says, in marriage, who initiates sex? Is it the man or the woman? And if the man decides not to, and the woman also refuses to initiate it for a year, can the marriage be annulled? Lawyer Paintsil.
The marriage is not going to be annulled because either party refuses to initiate sex. I think they are just being children. They are playing like children. I mean, it does not matter who initiates sex in marriage. I've always maintained that the best sex you can ever have is one initiated by a woman. Hey. I have always maintained that. But if a woman will not initiate it, I mean, it's either way. In either ways, either party.
I have a lot of things to say, but
you better. Top government official refuses to comment.
I am saying nothing.
You're very right. But a marriage cannot be annulled merely because neither party wants to initiate it.
I take it that they don't need it.
They don't.
No.
They don't even know what sex is.
It's as simple as that.
Yes, so that's the way it is. But a marriage is never going to be annulled. For the other gentleman, if a husband makes a will without making reasonable provision for the wife, that is after his death, the woman can go to court to ask for an order for reasonable provision.
Okay.
But it also raises an issue as to whether, if the property was acquired in the course of the marriage, the woman has any share at all in it by reason of whatever services that she provided in the course of the marriage. In that event, it's not the same thing as reasonable provision. Reasonable provision, supposes that everything was acquired by the man. The woman does not think she's entitled to anything by way of being a co-owner in the properties. Then in the event, she asks for reasonable provision to be made for her. But if the woman decides that by reason of the acquisition in the course of the marriage, she's entitled to a portion, then she can go on two legs. First, for a declaration that she's entitled to a portion of the property by reason of her contribution to it. In the alternative, for an order that reasonable provision must be made out of the estate for her. A reasonable provision looks at the circumstances. You married a wife, some people marry, they don't want them to work. And then all of a sudden they are left on their own. And how do you expect them to go through it? These are the factors that a court will take into consideration in making a provision out of a man's estate. That's even after you are dead. But either way, she can go to court.
She can go to
Yes,
court.
either way.
All right.
Yes.
Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning, madam.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. And how are you?
I am well, thank you.
Yes, my name is AC calling from Mala.
Okay, hi AC, we are listening to you.
Yes. My question is, I know a couple, they are married under the ordinance, but the woman, after some time, went ahead and had an affair with another man, and she became pregnant. She has even delivered, but they are married under the ordinance. The families are saying that the man should wait after she gave birth. I want to know what the man should do.
Thank
because
you.
Because they were living together as couple. They are married under the ordinance.
And even during the pregnancy, was she still living with her husband?
No, she left.
She moved out.
Yes.
Okay, all right.
She moved out of the house.
Lawyer Paintsil.
It's not the law that when your wife commits an affair, it must be a reason for divorce. So if the man was my friend, I'll ask him to forgive the wife and take her back. If it turns out that the child is not his, paternity is always, determined by science. But nonetheless, he can decide to keep the child as his child. There's no reason why. But obviously, if he wishes to use the adultery as a basis for divorcing the wife, then of course he can. But listen carefully. A lot of time we make a lot of mistakes. The basis for seeking divorce on the basis of adultery is that the respondent has committed adultery, and by reason you do not find it tolerable to live with her. The test of tolerability is that 6 months prior to presentation of the thing, you have not slept with her, you have not had any affair, you have not lived with her as man and wife. That is the test. So if after knowledge of the woman having committed adultery, you start to continue, do the normal marriage thing, then you have compromised that. You cannot go to court and seek an order for divorce on the basis that she has committed adultery. The judge will not give it to you.
I see. It is not that easy.
It's not.
Anyway, thank you so much. We have a lot of questions, but this is where we will be calling it's off for today. We have answered a number of the questions. We still have more. We'll keep them, and then maybe some other time, if we find time with Lawyer Paintsil, we will still try to answer some of the questions. The revelations are interesting, and I just hope that we all are picking, taking notes. Lawyer Paintsil, thank you very much.
Let me tell you something before you sign. I've got a gentleman in Amsterdam who sent a message to you. He said the lady presenting the program is a very interesting person, knowledgeable and funny.
Oh, dear.
It's from Eric Schubert and Son. He's in Amsterdam.
Thank you so much. I appreciate this. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Great. So we're running away now. We will be here next week with some other stuff here on Home Affairs, but very interesting conversations we have had. Lawyer Paintsil, thank you so much. God bless you.
Most grateful.
And Daniela, Oliver, and everybody else who's been working in the background. God bless you. Today, Maoli Tofa and my very good friend Ruth Okine, you two are getting married. Congratulations to you. We'll be there to support you. And this marriage will last forever. Nobody
Amen.
is going to give anybody's name back to them. In Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
See you next week. Bye-bye.